Is Axelar a good investment? Is the AXL token a buy? It's interesting when we look behind the curtain, when we look at on-chain metrics, we can see how the number of daily transactions is going up, but the price is not yet adjusting for this. So in this video, we are going to have a look at many things. We're going to look at the number of holders over time. We're going to look at the relative valuation to Ethereum. We're also going to look at developer activity, for example. So let's jump right in. The very first thing that's interesting is the market rank. So it's a number 193. It's got a market cap of 126 million. Now we can thus say that it is a pretty risky altcoin, right? The market dominance is 0.01%. In the overall crypto ecosystem, this is a pretty small coin. Now here is the relative performance to Tether, to a stablecoin. So pretty much zero since November of 2022. Relative to Ethereum though, unfortunately, AXL did not do too well so far. An underperformance of 32%. Now here's what's interesting. This is the Axelar daily transactions, which seems to be picking up quite a bit of steam recently. So this is just the number of transactions, the transaction count. Here we've got the daily volume in US dollars. Now, what I find interesting around this is the transaction number is going up that much, but the total value locked measured in Ethereum is pretty much constant according to DeFi Llama. So in US dollars, it went down somewhat. In Ethereum, it's not moving much. So even though transactions are being done, it's not necessarily that the bridge gets more funds locked over time. It's simply just used more. Now, let's look at holders over time. I find this always very interesting. You want to know, is retail jumping on a particular altcoin? So the very small investors. And what's happening with the whales, right? Are the whales currently buying or selling? Because the worst case would be if the whales are currently dumping, whereas retail is buying. This is very often a sign of potential pump and dump. Now this here is the number of holders that hold at least 10 AXL tokens. So that's $6.50. So this is basically showing how many retail investors are currently in the token. I always put a certain filter on here because you don't want to see the wallets that only hold like a few cents, maybe because of a rounding error when they swapped, right? So you do want to have a minimum holding, 10 tokens. That's how it's developing over time. It's not stagnating. It's pretty much constantly growing. That's healthy. Now, this is the number of wallets that hold at least 10,000 tokens. So roughly $6,500 worth of the token. Pretty much in line, right? There was a dump at the beginning of November of last year, but since then also a relatively constant growth. Let's look at another 10x. So this is now the people that hold at least 100,000 tokens. So again, the whales are not dumping, right? The number of whales is not going down. Retail and whales are pretty much aligned with this token. People are buying in and simply just holding. Now, if you're considering to buy, there is a liquidity pool on Uniswap for Ethereum. It's got 570K. The token itself is relatively distributed. So it's not like 90% or so of the token are in one single wallet. This is a relatively healthy distribution that we don't see that often with altcoins of that size. Now, what's the main use of Axelar? Axelar is basically a bridge, right? A bridge where you can move tokens from one blockchain to the next. So here we've got the satellite powered by Axelar. So if you've got USDC on Ethereum, you can move it to Osmosis and the other way around, right? You've got a gas fee, you've got a waiting time, and you've got a maximum transfer amount, which is pretty high. Very often with other bridges, the maximum transfer amount is actually lower than that. Now, here's the thing I don't really like about Axelar. It's the current activity around the development. So how much are the developers currently contributing to the project? So we've got here the GitHub repository, and we see there hasn't been much work for 1 month, at least in terms of changes to this Axelar examples repo. There are some open pull requests and some issues, but yeah, I wish there was a bit more activity here. Do I think it makes sense to buy the token? It is definitely very risky. You do have a somewhat long-term underperformance versus ETH, but on the other hand, you do have relatively constant holder growth. The product is being used, but unfortunately, the amount of capital that's locked up is not increasing. So I want to see more momentum for a crypto project of that size. If you invest in something like in the top 10 or so in terms of market cap, it's okay when a project isn't yet that active, but when you take on that much risk, right, with market rank 200, then you do want to see a very dynamic team and you do want to see very constant, quick growth. This is not necessarily something that I can yet see for Axelar. It's only the number of transactions, but that's about it. Now, I still wanted to cover this coin simply because it was requested by a premium member of Bitcoin Strategy. So we've got a Telegram channel and a Discord channel, both public and for the premium members. The public links are down below. And if you consider signing up for premium, there's also a link in the video description. Thanks for watching and see you on the next one. Bye bye.